All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
President Obama asks the Department of Homeland Security to do something about the mass deportations that people are complaining about a long time. Well, he did the right thing, but what took him so long? Hello, everybody. It's Friday. Friday, March 14. Our favorite day around the Bill Press Show. Yours as well, I bet. Happy Friday. Yes, indeed. Friday, March 14. Into the weekend we go. Boy, it's been a long slog this week, man. I'm certainly glad.
Get out of here.
I'm glad to say that.
You're not allowed to say that.
Man, I had to work 2 whole days this week. Yeah. Well, if I'd worked any longer, I would have put in for overtime. So the president did that too yesterday. Signed a little memo, a little order to the Labor Department saying, do something about all these people who are working extra hours and under today's rules not getting paid for it. That's just so much to talk about today, so much to get into today on this beautiful Friday morning, wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours. We welcome you to the program here on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to see you. And on Free Speech TV, you got the satellite dish wherever you are. You got us on Direct TV. Take advantage of it. And whether you're listening or watching, we welcome you to the program and invite your participation. Come on, it's a two-way street here. We love hearing from you on the phone at 866-55-PRESS. We love just looking on the social media and getting your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook, our growing body of friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Well, they made it through the week as well. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Good morning.
Hey,
good morning.
Good morning.
Big plans for the weekend?
Not at all.
You better have them. Sunday night's going to snow again.
Unbelievable.
Wait a minute. Sunday night is the 16th.
Yep.
All right. So are we going to take this winter thing all the way up to spring?
Spring is Thursday. It's less than a week away. And I don't think Monday is St. Patrick's Day, right?
Monday's St. Patrick's Day.
I know it's a horrible St. Patrick's Day this year.
Have you ever seen snow on St. Patrick's Day here? I don't remember ever having it.
I was always too drunk.
Yeah. You wouldn't remember. If we had or not.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. No.
True.
I'm not Irish, but that doesn't mean I can't get drunk on St. Patrick's Day.
That doesn't stop anybody else.
Anyhow, Alicia Cruz here on the phones. Good morning, Alicia. And Cyprian Balding. I think he's here this morning.
He's here.
Is he here?
He's
He's
here.
here. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
President accounted for.
President accounted for, right. Oh, that's the cameras are uncovered, so he must be here. Okay. Yes, indeed. How about it? So this is a funny little, maybe a dangerous little game here, but on Bravo the other night, Andy Cohen had Seth Rogen on as his guest, and these are secrets you're not supposed to tell, but he asked him, so now who of all these famous people have you smoked pot with? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so James Franco.
This is really depressing for me to say. I've never smoked weed with James Franco.
How?
Because he doesn't smoke weed.
Oh my God,
That's why he's
headline
such a
news.
good actor. It's really
Okay,
sad.
what about Dave Franco?
I don't know, honestly.
I feel like
Maybe
I've had
sometime throughout the years.
Secondhand stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Rudd? What about Paul Rudd?
Oh, yeah, lots of times.
Absolutely.
Lots of times.
Okay. What about Sarah Silverman?
Yes, many
Yes.
times.
Yeah. What about Snoop?
Yeah, actually, I have. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. What about Streisand?
No, but we talked about it a lot.
Okay, good. What about?
She smoked weed with Peter Sellers, though.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's the craziest ever.
Oh my God.
Pretty cool.
It is cool. Yeah.
You go mic that.
I'm going. Get near the mic here again. Yeah. It didn't say Bill Press.
So let me ask you.
Yeah. What?
Who's the most famous person you ever got high with?
Peter, was it you?
A member of Congress.
Okay.
Oh, we'll leave it at that, I guess.
We'll just leave it at that. Yes. I never smoked weed with Streisand either, but
Now you have a reason to see her again.
yeah, Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go out to Malibu. Here we go. There's lots coming up today. Susan Page from USA Today will be joining us a little bit later. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who is on a tear against Paul Ryan for his comments about those lazy blacks who don't want to work and don't want to get a job and, just they love being poor. Barbara Lee joins us a little bit later. And we will jump over to China to talk to a lead reporter for the Washington Post about the search for the missing Malaysian Airlines plane, flight number 370. And in fact, we're going to start off this morning by getting your take on where the hell you think this plane is or what happened to it at 866-55-PRESS. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Bill, you set up the first story today without even knowing it. There is Jared Polis, Colorado Democrat, yesterday, was asked about legalization of marijuana. He's pushed very strongly. He's a big supporter of legalized marijuana. He was asked, how many members of Congress do you think smoke weed? And he said, quote, I don't think more than 5 or 10, I would guess, but I really don't know. I haven't seen them use it. I would just be completely guessing. But he's guessing that 5 or 10 members of Congress smoke pot. We have our guesses on who they might be, but National Journal took a look at the percentages of Americans who admit to smoking marijuana on a regular basis compared with how many people are in the House and the Senate.
but have smoked it or do smoke it today?
Smoke it today.
Oh, well, that's a different question.
Yeah, that's definitely a different
Well, no,
question.
that's what he
Yeah.
was asked.
Oh, okay. All right, got
That's
it.
what he
I
was asked
just wanted to be
specifically.
sure. Right.
Yeah, he was asked specifically about whether or not these lawmakers currently smoke weed. And when you look at the numbers of how many people admit to currently smoking weed, or are active users, they put it to the number of people in the House and the Senate. They found out that his math is pretty much right. And just the law of averages would suggest that, there are about 5 or 10 members of Congress who are currently smoking.
Out of 435.
Yep.
Only 5?
5 or 10.
5 or 10? But if you ask how many have tried it, have smoked it,
That's a different story.
that'd be a lot more.
A lot higher. You mentioned the snowstorm. It's not just the snow that's coming. This is a real weather alert issued by the National Weather Service to Washington, D.C.
All right.
Reading verbatim.
All right, I'm ready for it.
This forecast, quote, this forecast has almost every possible weather type / hazard in the first 36 hours of the weekend. Strong to severe storms, snow, wind chills, strong winds, unseasonably warm temperatures, unseasonably cold temperatures, potential fire weather concerns, minor coastal flood potential.
And locusts.
And locusts, essentially. We're looking at locusts this weekend. That's the weather forecast for this weekend in Washington.
Just be prepared for
Bring a
anything.
tank top and
You know what?
flip-flops
What are you
to the
gonna
park
wear?
That is the classic CYA weather forecast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this way, anything that happens from 90 degrees to sub-zero, the weather forecast will be able to say, see, we told you.
Yep. There you go. Delta Dental just did a poll of families to find out what the tooth fairy pays out to kids when they lose a tooth.
25 cents.
Turns out the national average, you know what the national average is?
50 cents.
$3.50.
No
Get outta
way.
here.
The tooth fairy just made a visit to my house earlier this week.
Really?
And the tooth fairy left $1. So the tooth fairy that comes to my house is apparently a cheapskate.
is a little, yeah.
Your son got gypped.
$3.50 is the national average for a tooth.
National average?
That's the national average.
Oh, my God.
That's what families say that the Tooth Fairy brings their family. In 2012,
I think you need a little retroactive Tooth Fairy at your house.
Apparently, look, I'm whitewashing this article for my kids. They are not going to see this. I don't want them raising any beef for the Tooth Fairy. In 2012, the Tooth Fairy gave $2.42 average, and it jumped over $1 in just 1 year. So,
But, well, I have a question about this. I mean, I've a lot of skepticism about this poll here. I just wonder, who did they ask? The kids? The kids probably lied.
Or they weren't sure how much.
All right. That's a good question. All right, now look, let's be honest here, right? There's a lot of important stuff going on, right? The president acting on overtime yesterday. The president acting on the mass deportations yesterday. The Senate finally got something together on child care. I mean, you could go down the list, right? John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi have issued an invitation to the Pope to come address the Congress. There's lots of important stuff going on, no doubt about it. We're going to cover a lot of it this morning. But what's the number one thing people are talking about? Everywhere I went yesterday, lunch, even here in the show during the breaks, at the White House yesterday, everywhere I went, what people are talking about is what happened to that damn plane. How can you lose a commercial airliner on this planet today with all of our advanced technology? And that's a really good question. You got to be intrigued by this. You have to follow. Everybody is following this because here's this plane with over 200 people on board, right? Malaysian Airlines, you know the story, Flight 370, leaves on a routine flight from Malaysia to Beijing and disappears. Doesn't crash. Well, I think it did somewhere, but I mean, it's not that there's when I first heard the plane was missing, I thought, oh, they'll find it like in the jungle somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's right. No.
I think we all had that reaction.
Yeah. No, I mean, totally missing. So at first, and and every day is like more information comes out that just makes it more and more bizarre and mysterious. At first they thought there's the route that it normally takes from Malaysia to Beijing and across the straits of whatever there, and they thought it had probably crashed in the sea between Malaysia and Vietnam. And then remember that China's put out some satellite photo of, they thought, some debris floating in the water. That turned out to be nothing. But then the latest is that they found out yesterday, Wall Street Journal was the first report, that there were the transponder was turned off. So they lost communication with the plane. But then there were these pings from this system, I'm not sure what, right, that continues to send off a ping to that the satellites picked up that showed that this plane continued to fly for another 4.5 hours after they lost all communications and radar contact with the plane, and that it had turned toward the Indian Ocean and flown over the Malaysian peninsula and headed out into the Indian Ocean. So now that's where the search is headed. So, I mean, what the hell could have happened? 866-55-PRESS. What do you think? Everybody's got a theory about this, but it's looking more and more like that the pilot, either the pilot or the co-pilot or somebody knew how to fly a plane, took charge of that plane, turned the transponders off, turned the plane around, and God knows what their intention was, but it could have been. Peter, you and I were talking earlier, and I saw this on NBC News last night, reminding me about Silk Air 185, which is back in 1997, where the pilot had a lot of financial problems and just decided he was going to commit suicide and take the plane down with him. Yeah. And that could have been the case here.
You're right. Everything points to the fact that whatever happened after the transponder was turned off, whoever was in charge knew what they were doing with the plane.
Right. Yeah.
So
the transponder cannot just turn itself off.
Right. It was deliberately turned off. Everyone
off.
sort of agrees that that's something that happened. And then when you go on for another 4.5 hours after that, everyone agrees it has to be someone who knew what they were doing with an airplane. But, who?
what could have happened? The Malaysian Airlines people, they are obviously frustrated, getting a lot of pressure from the families of people on that plane. Here, their spokesperson yesterday said they have followed every lead and have just come up empty-handed.
We have looked at every lead, and in most cases, in fact, in all the cases that we have pursued, we have not found anything positive.
Not found anything. He did say that, again, these images from the Chinese satellite were turned out to be false. I don't know what that was floating out there, but it had nothing to do with the plane. And the same spokesperson says that they are just not going to give up. They're going to they have to keep looking.
The plane vanished. We have extended the search area because it is our duty to follow every lead, and we owe it to the families. And trust me when I say we will not give up.
So how do you like that? You got a family member on this plane, and all the airline can tell you is, and I'm not being critical of the airline here, I'm just saying I find it stunning that in this day and age, with all the communication and all the technology that we've got, and all the satellites, and all the cell phone, everything, that all the airline can say is, the plane vanished. The plane vanished. What do you mean the plane vanished? Where is it? Yeah, and the other thing I find curious is, with all these people on this plane, that there was no cell phone contact from anybody. None of the flight attendants, none of the crew, none of the passengers. You would think everybody. Remember September 11? The people on those planes were on their, screw the fact that you're not allowed to use your cell phone on a plane, right? This was their last chance to get in touch with their loved ones and say hello or to plead for help or something. And you just have to assume everybody on that plane would have been trying to use their cell phone, and somebody must have been able to get a signal to somewhere, you would think. But there was zero contact with the plane, with the crew, and with any passenger on that plane. It's
bizarre, man.
It is so bizarre.
Weird.
So listen, your theory is you've heard mine. I mean, I think this was a pilot suicide, but your theory is as valid as mine. Who knows? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it on this Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, lots to talk about today, lots going on, and we'll get right back to the news of the day and our Bill Press Show this morning in just a second. But first, I want to take a little time out once again to ask for your help for all of us here at Free Speech TV. You know, I don't have to tell you how much, I've told you before, how much we love being with you first thing in the morning, bring you the news of the day. We love the fact that you're with us, but you know we wouldn't be here without you, and we really do need your help. That's what makes the difference on Free Speech TV. We don't get any corporate money. We don't get any government funding. All of our, we don't get any commercial funding. All of our money, all of our revenue for Free Speech TV comes from you, our viewers. I know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. You know that you get here totally unfettered, totally independent, just right, straight news of the day with good progressive commentary all day long from me and from Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman, all of our good friends at Free Speech TV. Well, we wouldn't be here without you. It's just as simple as that. You've been very generous in the past. We're very excited that so many of you already, this pledge drive, have stepped up to the plate. We thank you for that, and if you haven't already done so, encourage you to make that big call today to 877-378-8669 and make your pledge. Be as generous as you can to Free Speech TV, just to keep this independent, the one single progressive television network on the air, and that is Free Speech TV. And encourage you to do so. Very, very excited to be able to offer you. If you could just give us $10 pledge, $10 a month, that's $120 a year. You get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop downstairs here in our building. If you can up that to $20 a month and a pledge of $240, which we thank you, You'll love the cheese from Cowgirl Creamery. It comes from a part of Marin County where we live in California. I think it's the best cheese in the entire world. We'll send you a selection of Cowgirl Creamery. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get the Cowgirl Creamery, Cowgirl cheese selection, and the Bill Press mug. That's $30 a month or $360. And then, very, very special, and some of you have signed up for this already, if you can afford to help free speech with $1,000 and make your way to Washington, D.C., here's what. We will take you out to dinner at one of our favorite restaurants in Washington and invite you to come here the next morning in studio with us to see the show. That'll be a great deal of fun. Hope you'll take advantage of that. Again, the number to make your pledge is 877-378-8669. We depend on you. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, the Huffington Post is calling it Phantom Flight. I like that. I think that sort of sums it up. And the latest is that the plane, to the extent anybody knows anything, the latest theory is that it was headed toward Andaman Islands, which is off the coast of India. How they know that, I don't know. But how it was supposed to land there, I don't know. Or maybe it did. Ike is down in Charleston, South Carolina. Ike, what's up?
All right, real quick, tongue-in-cheek. I'm just hoping there isn't somebody on that plane that made Christie mad and they're hiding the plane in Jersey somewhere. But beyond that...
There's some traffic problems.
Traffic problems, yeah, right, in Jersey.
But beyond that, I did hear testimony, or I heard a report about testimony of a guy that's testifying right now against Osama bin Laden's brother-in-law, and he was going to be involved. He was going to be a Richard Reed, and he was set up with shoe bombs, and he was going to bomb an airline. Well, he decided not to do it. He's now testifying against all these guys, including Sheikh Mohammed. But he gave away those shoes, and one of the shoes he gave away was to a Malaysian pilot, and that was testimony 2 days ago.
In that trial in New York.
Yeah, nothing more has been said about it, but as far as it goes, I think it was terrorism, and why they can't find the plane, I think we just need to get rid of this black box technology, which comes from the 50s and 60s, and get on with the 21st century.
By the way, that's a very, very good point. I've heard some aviation experts say that as well. I mean, the fact that the black box is on the freaking plane, right? Well, hello, what if it does crash? I mean, go down in the bottom of the ocean, right? The black box doesn't do as much good. Good to hear from you, Ike. Thanks. More calls coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help, because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those of you able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
we got 34 minutes after the hour. We'll keep you up to date if we hear any more news on the 777 Malaysian Airlines flight number 370. The plane has vanished, is all the airline can tell us. The phantom flight, Huffington Post is calling it. There's some other news of the day, good news of the day. Many of us have been talking for a long time, and especially members of the immigrant community and those groups that are working toward immigration reform have been encouraging the president for a long time to do something about the fact that we are deporting 1,000 people a day. These are people who would qualify under the president's immigration reform plan for citizenship, eventually for citizenship in this country, even though they came here illegally. And while we're waiting for that immigration reform legislation to pass, and it's not going to happen this year, maybe next year, who knows, but it's a long time away. Meanwhile, the Obama administration is deporting these people at a fast clip of about 40 an hour or 1,000 a day. And a lot of people, again, myself included, I've asked Jay Carney about this at the briefings. I've written a column about it. Other people have raised hell about it. And the White House has just been saying, well, we have to enforce the law. We have to enforce the law. That's what Carney told me. Yesterday, the president met with 3 members of Congress, 3 leading Latino members of Congress, and he finally admitted, you know what? This is a real problem. Hey, you know what? We got to do something about this. You know what? This is wrong. He finally admitted that. Obviously, the pressure got to him, which is the good news. The bad news is it took him so long. But the good news is the president finally felt the heat. And he told these members of Congress that he had directed the new Secretary of Homeland Security to look into this matter and report back to him on what they could do about maybe making it a little more of a more humane policy that they were following out at the Department of Homeland Security.
It's about time.
Yeah, about time. Absolutely. I think they just ought to suspend, because they're breaking families up. These are people who are rounded up at their workplace. You've heard me talk about this. They don't get a chance to go home, say goodbye to their family, pack their bags. They're taken off to some deportation center. They're given a hearing which lasts 7 minutes, even including translation. If they need a translator, 7 minutes. And then they're put on a bus, on a plane, or a train, or whatever, and shipped south of the border. I had lunch last week, a couple of weeks ago now, with the new vice president of the AFL-CIO, Tafari Jabre from California, and he said this was a real big priority for the AFL-CIO. They had meetings at the White House on this issue. So finally, we got some response. 866-55-PRESS, the toll-free number. Your thoughts on that. And I want to share something else with you. Susan Page, by the way, from USA Today, will join us in the next segment, as she does every Friday morning. But I had a very interesting meeting yesterday at the Capitol with our good friend, Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont.
Nice.
The most liberal member, no doubt, of the United States Senate. He's an independent, but he caucuses with Democrats and he votes with Democrats. And he is, if you want somebody, again, who is true, blue, progressive all the way, knows the issues better than anybody I know, and is fearless when it comes to standing up and fighting for the issues we care about more than anybody I know, in season and out of season, it's Bernie Sanders. And I wanted to meet with the senator because I had heard on the grapevine and read John Nichols in The Nation magazine that the senator was considering running for president in 2016. And I'm not letting any cat out of the bag to confirm that the senator is indeed taking a look at it, a serious look at it, which I think is great news. And that's not a knock on Hillary Clinton. It's not a knock on Joe Biden. It's not a knock on Martin O'Malley or anybody else out there or Elizabeth Warren or Kirsten Gillibrand. We have a lot of potentially great candidates. Not a knock on any of them. It's just that I think, I'd love your take on it, 866-55-PRESS. I think Senator Bernie Sanders would liven up the race, certainly, and he would raise, here's the important thing, he would raise issues that nobody else would raise. And he would, I think, influence the debate. And I'm talking about, the debates on stage, but also the whole debate in the primary season by making sure that the focus was on issues, how to help the middle class, how to do something about the problem of income equality in this country and continuing poverty in this country, how to do something about climate change, how to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I mean, these are Bernie's core issues, and he would bring those. He'd bring those to the table.
It's certainly, I think it's a good point. Whoever is the leading candidate, whether it's Hillary or whoever, Bernie Sanders would certainly make them a better candidate. You know, having to face somebody who is speaking for the base.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think, first of all, just in general, I had this conversation at lunch yesterday with a Republican friend of mine. I think primaries are good for either party. Primaries are good because they force candidates to really sharpen their speaking abilities, their debating abilities, their thinking abilities. Force them to get their organization together. If you don't have any primary opposition, you know what you do? You could just say, hey, baby, I can coast until the general election.
Right.
And meanwhile, the other side, is gearing up and getting the organization built, and they're ready to go. And then, whoops, you find out, we got skunked because we were asleep at the switch. So primaries in general, I think, are very good. And to have somebody raise these issues, which, by the way, I think Dennis Kucinich served a great role. The last couple of times. Jesse Jackson, way back when, served a great role in the sense that you knew they weren't going to win, but they were still serious candidates in the sense that they influenced the debate. And I think the one risk is, of course, that you could have a spoiler, like Ralph Nader was a spoiler. But I think you could count on Bernie Sanders that if he doesn't win the primary, right, he's not going to be out there like Ralph Nader taking votes away from the Democrat, enabling a Republican to win, which is exactly. Sorry, Ralph, you and I have talked about this. You disagree. Sorry, Ralph. Al Gore would be president of the United States, would have been president of the United States, were it not for Ralph Nader on the ballot in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, as independent.
I mean, it's just look at the numbers.
As independent as Bernie Sanders is, I think you're right. There's no way he would go on to run as an independent if he didn't get the Democratic number.
I know him well enough to know he would not. He would not do anything to help a Republican win the presidency. So anyhow, I had that conversation with Bernie Sanders. I'm going to write a column about it. I just wanted to share with you the information that if you have heard the rumors that he is considering, and that's all I'm saying. So that's no big announcement here, but that he is considering it, seriously considering it. Those rumors are true.
Now, we do have to put out there.
And that's not an endorsement. I'm just reporting on as a reporter what I just interviewed him.
But we do have to put out there. It is our duty to put out there that he is a former employer of yours.
That is true.
You interned for him a couple years ago.
That is true. I did forget to mention that there's a kind of a conflict here. In fact, when he saw me in the waiting room in his office yesterday, he thought I was still in my... and he came out and he said, give me a cup of coffee, will you?
Give me a cup of coffee.
Yeah, give me a cup of coffee, will you?
I need you to make some more copies.
I was Senator Sanders' intern for a year in the United States Senate. Yeah, best year of my life. We'll be back with Susan Page, USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, Have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go. 13 minutes now before the top of the hour. Friday, March 14, The Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Joined across town by the Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, Susan Page. Hello, Susan. Good morning.
Hey, happy Friday, Bill.
Happy Friday. One of these days we're going to have to get you in studio here, Susan.
Too early.
Yeah, we have, I don't know. We have the big breakfast buffet on Friday.
Not enough, fella.
All right, now, we talked about this. Did you see that LBJ play yet? No?
I'm seeing it tonight.
Tonight. Oh,
tonight.
all right.
I'm guest hosting the Dianne Rehm show this morning, and then my husband and I are getting on a train and going to New York.
Good for you. Great. Well, I don't know whether you saw that Al Kamen in the Post the other day asked some of the former LBJ, there's still some of them around, obviously, Joseph Califano, whom you interviewed. We talked about it last week. He saw the play on Broadway, and he said it was, he actually felt sometimes like he was back in the Oval Office with that Bryan Cranston is that real of an LBJ.
Well, was that a good thing, did he think?
Yeah, no. Well, obviously portrayed him so real, so well that he said he was sort of like shaking at times, thinking, "Oh my God, he's back!" You know? So you'll see. Look, I'm sure you'll like it. I want a full report. Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, great. A couple of big stories this week. First of all, of all people to take on the CIA, whoever thought it would be Dianne Feinstein?
Dianne Feinstein, she's been criticized for being a lapdog for the CIA in her role as chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. She was anything but that on Tuesday. That was an extraordinary 40-minute speech on the Senate floor. I heard about it. I went back and watched it on C-SPAN online, and man, that was one tough speech.
Yeah, and she, as you say, she's been so supportive of the NSA, the CIA, the intelligence agency, particularly this massive phone collection stuff, right? She said it was perfectly legal, it was necessary, they did nothing wrong. And she's defended the CIA how many times? But this time, they crossed the line when they, at least she accuses them of hacking the computers of her own staff and stealing documents.
And she and others are portraying this as a constitutional crisis that goes to the separation of powers. That the Congress is supposed to be able to oversee the watchdogs at the CIA, and that the actions that she says they took undermine that whole idea.
And but the president, and we've brought this up at the briefings, David Jackson and me and others, right, at the White House with Jay Carney, the president still sticks by the CIA and the NSA and all of them. Do you think this will, with Senator Feinstein out there now, that this could generate maybe a second look on the part of Congress at the intelligence agencies?
Well, I think it's definitely grabbed the attention of the members of the Intelligence Committee. I'm not sure it's grabbed the attention of Americans generally. If you to ask Americans what they worry about, oversight of the CIA would probably not be on the first 100 problems that they see in their own lives.
Right.
But there's to have the Democratic chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee blasting the Democratic president's appointee to head the CIA, and a man with whom he is personally close. John Brennan and Barack Obama have a real relationship. That is amazing. And I talked yesterday to Senator Martin Heinrich, who is a Democratic senator from New Mexico, who's a member of that committee. He says he made a mistake in voting to confirm John Brennan, and he regrets it. Those are pretty extraordinary words coming from, especially from a Democratic senator.
Boy, absolutely. Now, if you do, back to your point, if you ask Americans what they might be concerned about, they might be concerned about Russia seizing Crimea. And now you had a chance to interview our former ambassador to Ukraine?
That's right, Stephen Pifer. I interviewed him yesterday. It's in today's paper. I asked him if there was a new Cold War coming, and he said that this is the biggest crisis we've faced with Russia since the Soviet Union collapsed.
Wow. Jeez. So there's a referendum tomorrow in Crimea. I think we know how that's going to go, right?
Right.
And now news that Putin is massing troops on the border of Ukraine. I thought they'd already basically occupy Crimea. Why, Right.
Well, they've occupied Crimea, and Crimea is dominated by ethnic Russians. So almost certainly the effort to annex Crimea will pass in the referendum this weekend. But these troops are massed along other parts of eastern Ukraine, which have a different ethnic makeup. And Ambassador Pifer said that if they go across the border in those areas, there'll be a shooting war because at least some of the Ukrainian units will fight back, he predicted. If they try to get more than Crimea. Right.
The question I keep asking myself is, as much as we may not like it, if Russia, in fact, annexes Crimea and they recognize this referendum and they say, all right, now you're part of Russia, what can we really do about it?
Well, we can do economic sanctions. I mean, we're not going to go to war with Russia over this. We can have economic sanctions. We can take steps in concert with the European Union. But the fact is, there's not much we can do. And here's a complicating point, which is that we're saying these borders are sacrosanct and that this is violating the rules of the game, the long-established rules of the game. The reality is there are times when we've stood up for self-determination by peoples, as in Kosovo. Yes. So Peter Baker in the New York Times had a good piece about this week about how that fact that sometimes we're on this side of this issue of self-determination versus national borders, sometimes on the other, gives at least an opening for Russia to argue to argue their side. Right. Not many options and no clear answer for sure. Well, Susan, put that all out of your mind. Have a good time with Dianne Rehm this morning, and then
Enjoy your trip to New York and enjoy LBJ tonight.
Thank you, Bill. Have a great weekend.
All the way with LBJ. All right. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Susan. Susan Page is the Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery. For $360 or $30 a month, you'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
This is a Bill Press Show.
From China, Washington Post Simon Denyer on the missing Malaysian plane, top of the next hour. Peter.
Big news, Bill. 4 years after the Deepwater Horizon explosion in the Gulf of Mexico, BP is now being welcomed back to the Gulf of Mexico. They had been banned in 2012 from drilling for oil there, and the Environmental Protection Agency yesterday agreed with BP. They're going to let them open back up for business. That means millions of new dollars for BP because they can now drill in the Gulf again.
And what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. I mean, do we ever learn anything? Apparently not. Yeah, this is what we need. BP back in the Gulf. Watch out. 2 more hours coming up.
This
Stay with us.
is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, Have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Senators reach a deal to extend unemployment benefits, finally, but only through May. I mean, God forbid they do anything that will last like maybe a whole year. Well, good morning, everybody. I guess we have to accept that as progress, so given the state of Congress these days. Good to see you this Friday morning. Weekend doesn't start yet. We got another couple of hours to go here. And then we're into the weekend. So good to have you with us this Friday morning. It's March 14. Hello. And welcome to the Bill Press Show on your local progressive talk radio station. Wherever you happen to be, lucky if you've got one, and trust you to give your full support to that station and to the sponsors you hear on that station. Also, good to see you on Free Speech TV this morning, and we are there with you on your satellite dish on the Direct TV network, and appreciate your being with us, listening and watching as we cover the landscape this Friday morning here in Washington, D.C., where they actually got a couple little baby steps done this week. We'll keep you up to date also with what's happening around the country and around the globe and the continuing search for any trace of Malaysian Airlines 370. We'll also take your calls at 866-55-PRESS and look forward to your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. With so much going on, so much to talk about, we have the whole team here assembled this morning. Peter Ongburn and Elisa Murphy.
Hey.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yes.
Friday.
It's been a long time coming this Friday.
God. The 2-day work week.
The 2-day work week is pretty good.
Not that you weren't working,
in
air
Vegas.
Quotes, working in Las Vegas
I
earlier
was
this week.
You're working hard.
Yeah.
You didn't have to deal with that grueling time change on Monday.
That's right. Yeah.
That was quite fun.
And then, by the way, being 3 hours behind and then losing another hour.
Yeah. You're all messed up. You're ready for dinner
totally.
right about now.
Alicia Cruz here has got the phones covered, waiting for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And if we are looking good on Free Speech TV, it's thanks to Cyprian Bolding, who not only has the cameras on, but he has the filters on. And
That's right.
That's right. He
a lot of mood lighting over in this corner of the studio, I can tell you that much.
He airbrushes the video before it goes out on the air.
Put a little more Vaseline on that camera lens that's on me, Sip.
How about it? Well, Chris Christie's back. Yeah, he's back to being the old Chris Christie that we know and love. Actually, I got to tell you, so he's at a town hall meeting. I mean, he goes from being top of the hill to now he's conducting little town halls in New Jersey, right? I mean, this is how far how the mighty have fallen. And
New Jersey has plenty of rebuilding to do.
He does.
Including his reputation.
Right. And he is encountering hecklers everywhere he goes. He had to deal with another one of them yesterday, and he dealt with the heckler in true Chris Christie fashion.
My real estate taxes were just raised $2,000 for the year, which
Here's the heckler.
is hard for a stay-at-home mom.
A second. Listen, let me just... Good. I'm glad you do. Either sit down and keep quiet or get out. One or the other. We're done with you.
You know what? Good for Chris Christie.
I agree.
Good for Chris Christie. Yeah, sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
The idea about a town hall meeting, everybody gets to talk. Everybody gets to ask the question, right? So if you got a question or you got a comment, you got a bitch with Chris, then put your hand up, wait your turn. Chances are you'll get called on, right? But this woman's asking about her taxes, and this a-hole in the back starts shouting out. I probably would have said the same thing.
Yeah,
Republican or Democrat would the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, sit down and shut up. Fathead. Get out of here. So on that one chance, I have to tell you, Chris Christie, I don't blame him. Coming up, Congresswoman Barbara Lee will be joining us a little bit later. Also, reporters from Huffington Post and Politico will kick off the hour rather by going all the way over to China and talking with Simon Denyer from the Washington Post bureau chief in Beijing about efforts on that end to find any trace of the 777 from Malaysian Airlines missing. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Almost today, huh?
Yes, indeed. Just a couple other stories making news. Today is Friday, March 14th. March 14th, better known as 3.14, also known as pi, P-I, 3.14. The mathematical term. Pi is an interesting number. It's an irrational number. It goes on indefinitely, but we know it as 3.14. So today is considered Pi Day. Now, we don't celebrate it by doing math. We celebrate it by eating pie. This was originally started in 1988 at San Francisco's Exploratorium Science Museum. A physicist by the name of Larry Shaw oversaw pie recitations combined with people eating actual pie and walking around in circles.
I never knew this. Huh.
There you go. So today is considered Pie Day.
What's that famous pie in L.A.? There's this somebody, Mrs. So-and-so's Pies.
Is it Marie Callender's?
Maybe Marie Callender's, whatever.
Might be.
So they give away free pie?
It would, various places around the country give away pie.
I have to give out when they give out free pancakes, but does anybody give out free pie today?
I'll have to look and see if I was giving away free pie. They should. I'm sure that there are a couple local
it's Pie
places.
Day. What the hell?
Best pie? Any votes for best pie? Favorite pies?
Oh, you mean
your personal favorite pie?
Maybe pecan pie.
That is the correct answer.
Carol makes a killer pecan pie. She also makes a killer guacamole, too.
Well,
as some of us learned last Friday.
The correct answer is pecan pie, and you pronounced it correctly, pecan pie. So there you go. Bishop Bobby Davis had a rough Sunday. He got up to speak in front of his congregation at the Miracle Faith World Outreach Church in Bridgeport, Massachusetts. And after the sermon, he asked everyone to stick around. He wanted to talk to them. And he confessed that he had engaged in an affair several years ago and wanted to apologize. The mixed reaction from the congregation was too much for the bishop, and he dropped dead. They were yelling at him. Some people saying, "We forgive you, we love you." Other people saying, "It's time for you to go." He fought with them. He talked to them, and eventually he just had too much of it. He laid down on the ground and expired. So,
whoa!
If you're gonna go out, that's one way to go out, man.
I think God was sending a message.
Yeah, exactly. His punishment was quick.
Yeah.
And Eater.com is a food blog that's been around since 2005. They've always been sort of a restaurant rumor mill and prided themselves on not having any restaurant critics. Yesterday, that changed. They hired 3 experienced restaurant critics, Robert Sietsema, formerly of The Village Voice, Atlanta Magazine writer Bill Addison, and Ryan Sutton, who writes on his own blog, The Price Hike. That is a total change from what they've done in the past. So Eater.com changing things up in a big way.
Is this Robert Sietsema? Is he related to the Tom Sietsema from the Washington Post?
They are distant cousins,
Oh.
and they both happen to be food critics in major markets.
Whoa.
How about that?
All right. Got it. Speaking of the Washington Post, we got the Washington Post covered this morning. They've got us covered. Simon Denyer is the China bureau chief for the Washington Post in Beijing, joining us on our news line this morning about Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Hey, Simon, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, thanks for being there. So what is the latest that we know about what people here are now calling the Phantom Flight?
Right. It's incredible. You know, it's nearly a week since I woke up on Saturday morning in Beijing to find out this plane has vanished. It feels a bit like in an episode of 24. There's more twists and turns every day than I can kind of cope with. You know, it's the latest. The latest is that I think you probably know by now that indications the plane flew on for 4 hours after the transponder went dark and appeared to be heading across the Indian Ocean. Just breaking this morning is a report out of Reuters, which actually gives some very specific information about where the plane was heading. And it was actually heading, they say, on a standard route that airlines take to Europe. So it went across the Malay Peninsula, and it used navigational waypoints, so it actually plotted its path across India's Andaman Islands and was heading across the Indian Ocean on a standard airliner route towards Europe. I mean, obviously it wouldn't have got towards Europe, but, one thing very clear from that, whoever was flying this plane knew how to fly a plane. I mean, they knew how to navigate a plane. They clearly knew how to turn the transponder off from a plane. These are not amateurs. These are people who know how to fly a jet airliner, This is complicated stuff. I'm not even sure that if you took a week's flying course in a flying school that they teach you how to turn a transponder off, So this is pretty sophisticated stuff, and they appear to have been heading completely off the route that they were supposed to be going off the Indian Ocean. We have no idea how far they got. We have to assume the plane crashed, ran out of fuel somewhere in the Indian Ocean because it hasn't turned up. And surely, if it was on land, it would have turned up. Someone would have spotted it on some remote island in the Indian Ocean by now. So we assume it's gone down, but we still have no idea why or how this happened.
So does this point to the pilot or the co-pilot?
Well, you have to ask that question, right? I mean, the Malaysians very pointedly denied a report yesterday that they'd searched the pilots' homes. Mm-hmm. They appear to have gone and politely asked one of the pilots' wives a couple of questions, but not searched the pilots' homes. Now, frankly, I don't want to accuse anybody of doing it, but due diligence in an investigation suggests that you really ought to have searched the pilots' homes by now pretty thoroughly.
Yes.
Just in case they were involved. Now, how one pilot does this and the other pilot doesn't object, your guess is as good as mine, frankly. I mean, you can do this for a while. One pilot can go to the washroom and the other pilot can seize control and plunge it into the sea, but you don't go to the washroom for 5 hours. So I still can't get my head around what happened on board that plane, and that's the strangest thing of all, actually, if you like. How could you fool the passengers? How could you fool the crew? How could you fool the other pilots? How could you do this for such a long time? I
know. There are so many questions. So one theory, of course, is that, and people keep talking about Silk Airlines back in 1997, where the pilot actually committed suicide and took everybody down with him. But, Simon, if that were the case here, they didn't have to cross the Malaysian peninsula and head toward Europe, right? The pilot could have done it, right, after they took off, or in between Malaysia and Vietnam, where they originally thought it was going, right? Right.
I mean, it's not, that's the point, right? It doesn't look like a suicide because, as you say, you don't spend 5 hours committing suicide. You do it. You don't do it, right?
Well, here's
and
another.
Yet, what was in their minds? I mean, were they taking the plane somewhere else? Well, if they were taking the plane somewhere else, there isn't much. I mean, it's a lot of ocean, right? You can get to India But what are you going to do? Land in India? I mean, clearly they didn't land in India. So
and
that
at some
doesn't really
point,
help.
they run out of fuel, of course. Which right, they're not going to. As you pointed out, they're not going to make it to Europe. But here's another big question that I have had: why was there no contact with anybody's cell phone on that plane? I mean, with this, it's all that vast area. You mean nobody picked up a phone and tried to call, and no signal was heard from any phone?
Well, there's been this puzzling kind of mystery from the beginning. Chinese families who are in Beijing say that they called the cell phones of their relatives, and their phones rang. Now, I pretty much discounted that because by the time they did that, the plane would surely have run out of fuel. Actually, I mean, by the time they realized the plane hadn't arrived, you'd think the plane would be close to running out of fuel. But they say they called it for several hours, which made a lot of people think, well, could the plane have crashed somewhere? Could it have been? But yeah, I mean, you have to ask that. The plane was flying over the Malay Peninsula. If I thought at that point the plane had been hijacked, I'd have got my phone out and tried to send a text.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So if there'd been a struggle, then you'd think someone in the passengers would have somehow tried to get word out, but there's no indication that happened. So were the passengers just told we're turning back to KL? And it was all peaceful and there was no struggle. I mean, it was a red eye. The passengers probably would have just carried on sleeping if they'd been told, oh well, here we are, we're going back to KL. We've got a slight technical fault. Nothing to worry about, ladies and gentlemen. But again, there's 2 pilots.
Yes.
There's a bunch of other crew. What were they doing?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe we'll never know. But Bill, maybe we will never know. Actually, we have to accept the possibility. This may be a mystery, but just doesn't get properly solved.
The idea, though, that you could lose a commercial airline on a plane on this planet with all this advanced technology that we have today and all this communications equipment is just unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. I mean, they know where everybody's cell phone is, right?
Yeah.
People tracking.
Right.
People are tracking emails and this and that. I mean, Google Maps seems to know, where I am. Satellites know where you are. It does actually beg a belief. There's some pretty... I mean, the Indian Ocean is not... It's a vast area, but it's a sensitive area. I mean, China and India and the US, they've all got, interest in that area.
Yeah.
So again, you'd think that they'd have been tracking satellites in that area to see what was going on. The Indians have a huge naval and military monitoring base on the Nicobar Islands, which are right smack bang on the path. So they should have been monitoring all of the airspace around that area.
Simon, it's like where is the NSA when we need them, right? Oh God,
they were too busy. They were too busy reading your emails.
Exactly, that's all right. Hey, you're very kind to join us and take time for us this morning, Simon. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for all your good work, and we'll keep watching and wondering what the hell happened. Simon Denyer from the Washington Post.
Have a good early weekend.
All right, thank you. Simon Denyer, China Bureau Chief for the Washington Post in Beijing.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say, and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you, and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those of you able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
Show.
It's 27 minutes after the hour now. And we've got Dave Jameison, by the way, from Huffington Post, will be joining us in the next segment to talk about the president. One of the things that the president did yesterday, he signed an order on making sure that people who work overtime get paid for overtime. That's a pretty basic concept, I think. That's just one of the things that happened yesterday that show that, once in a while you can get things done in Washington. Also, the president yesterday, meeting with three top Latino members of Congress, led by Javier Becerra from Los Angeles, said that he recognizes that, in fact, the mass deportations that have been carried out by the Department of Homeland Security are probably too much and too severe, and he has asked the Department of Homeland Security to scale back on those mass deportations. And then about time. And the other thing is that a whole group of bipartisan senators have actually reached an agreement on, yes, believe it or not, finally extending unemployment benefits, although they will only do so through the month of May. But they will pay for the last 2.5 months where people have been without those extended unemployment benefits. So, you got to be grateful even for a little bit of progress.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, Are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour. Here we go, the Bill Press Show this Friday morning, March 14. Brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. Great members of the Laborers Union under their outstanding, dynamic president, Terry O'Sullivan. Building a Better America, that's their website, Liuna, buildsamerica.org, L-I-U-N-A, Liuna, buildsamerica.org. One of the things that Terry O'Sullivan and other labor leaders and members of labor unions around the country are very happy about, not just all working men and women happy about, not just members of unions. The president yesterday taking steps to expand overtime pay for overtime work. Dave Jameison covers these issues for the Huffington Post, labor reporter, good friend of the program. Back in this morning. David, it's good to see you again.
Good to be here, Bill.
So I want to understand these overtime rules. It's a big deal, right?
Yeah, this is a really huge deal, actually, and I think it could really change work and life for a lot of people, especially managers in the retail world, people like that, and I'll explain why. Basically, the way it works right now is overtime law. A lot of people get carved out of the protections. And I'll give you an example of how it works. Say I run some dollar store downstairs.
Yeah.
I hire Bill to be my manager, and I hire Peter to be his assistant. Because I call you manager, you are carved out of overtime, right? So even though I'm giving you a relatively small salary, say $28,000, I kind of have an incentive to heap work on you rather than Peter, because I'm going to be paying Peter out of pocket for every hour that I have him work.
So you give me a glorified title, and any amount of any hours that I put in over 40 hours, I don't get compensated for, because I'm expected as a manager or a director or whatever to put in that extra time, right?
Exactly. Not only are you not getting paid overtime pay for those extra hours, you're not getting paid anything extra for that. You're just getting your base salary. So if you're getting paid, if I have you work 50, 60, 70, even 80 hours a week, it doesn't matter. You're still getting your 28 grand or whatever.
What is that base pay over?
And when you break it down, I've interviewed a lot of people. This is really rampant in the dollar store world, actually. Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, all these chains. This is sort of their labor model. And you've got people in there working 70, 80 hours a week.
Now we know why it's so cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you break it down money-wise, a lot of these people are earning less than $10 an hour, even though they're managers. And they're not even calling the shots.
Here's the president, that third clip, again, Elisa, from the president yesterday when he signed this. Right. This is the dollar figure that he gave yesterday, if we have that clip.
An exception that was originally meant for high-paid, white-collar employees now covers workers earning as little as $23,000, $660 a year.
Now, that's above the poverty level, but not a lot, right?
Yeah, that's not what we think of as a quote-unquote manager. And part of this actually goes to the way the Bush administration kind of loosened the laws here. They actually made it easier to declare people managers and exempt them. They said they made it a very, very small part of your duties as long as they're managerial. Then you're a, quote, manager. And I've talked to people who run stores. They do 20 minutes of payroll in the morning, and then they spend the rest of the day unloading trucks and stocking shelves and doing everything that hourly workers do. But they're exempt from overtime because of that 20 minutes of payroll that they do.
Now, is this a law or is this a rule? I mean, these people are not breaking the law, these dollar stores?
Well, there's a lot of litigation around that.
There is, okay.
There's arguments on both sides, and part of the problem is it's never really clear. It's just a very cloudy area of the law. As far as what the president can do here, though, he doesn't need Congress at all to do this. It's the Fair Labor Standards Act. This is the law, and this is part of it too. This is a law that came out of the Great Depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 1938, it was very clear in the factory, like who is a manager and who is a rank and file worker. We had clear lines. And now in the modern service economy, it's very different, and the lines are not clear at all. And you've got a lot of people who are managers more or less in name only, but in a lot of respects, they're hourly workers.
All right. Now, the president signed yesterday this order that doesn't require businesses to do this, right?
What he signed is kind of nothing yesterday, right? He signed an order directing the Labor Department to start developing changes. So we're a ways off, but it could be just a few months before they change this. And what's going to be the measure of how strong this is and how much of an impact it is where they set this new threshold. You hear the president mention around $24,000 is where it is now. That means if you make more than that, then it's very easy to just call you a manager and basically have you working for $8-9 an hour at the end of the day. If they double that threshold, that would be very significant. That would make a lot of people eligible for overtime that weren't. If they bump it up a few thousand, it's going to change work and life for a bunch of people, but not as many as a really ambitious move would.
Well, why isn't there a I don't want to be too radical here, I guess, right? But no matter what your title is, why shouldn't you get paid for every hour you work?
It's a very interesting question. This all goes back to this idea of a white-collar exemption. Again, going back to the Great Depression. But now you've got a lot of people, and what's interesting about this working in journalism, this had me thinking about a lot of young reporters who make 26 grand and maybe work lots and lots of hours.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those folks should be eligible for OT if they're working 60, 70 hours a week.
But I would agree with that. But at the same time, there are some jobs that are hourly wage jobs, right? And then there are others that you get paid for doing the job, right? And it's almost like it's an open-ended job.
Yeah.
If you could do that job in 4 hours, you get paid for that. If you do it in 12 hours, you get paid for it.
Right.
Yeah, it's sort of like...
So you can't...
it's sort of like you know it when you see it, right? Sometimes I work really long weeks, but, hey, I'm white collar, man. I think it's fair game to just give me a flat salary. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about somebody who's schlepping boxes off the truck at a store...
Right. I see those as the hourly rate.
I agree.
So why shouldn't they get paid for every single hour they work?
That's a great question. And, I think for some people, I think they like knowing they're going to have a set salary. I think there's more security in a salary for some people rather than an hourly wage. But at the end of the day, a lot of these people, I think they do get hosed because of the system.
So, in effect, the president did this yesterday, and this is great, and it's going in the right direction. But today, nobody's going to get more money.
No,
as a result of
nothing starts today. This is down the road, and there's going to be lobbying about.
And it's down the road.
Yeah.
So when the Labor Department comes out with these new rules, whatever, let's say they pick 40,000 or whatever it is, then do businesses have to? Is this mandatory on businesses? It's not the law, right?
No, well, it's still going to be murky because another piece of this is we got to see what the Labor Department does in terms of designating people supervisors, because there's the salary threshold for one thing, but there's also this piece of making it harder to just call people managers. So if they reform those rules and say, hey, say they change the rules so that, all right, you got to spend half your time doing supervisory stuff, doing paperwork and payroll and all that, that's really going to ramp it up and make it harder for these companies to declare people, exempted workers.
But they will be rules if the rules are adopted by the Labor Department.
Oh yeah, this will go. Yes, they will have to.
They'll have to follow those rules.
Yes, and if they don't, workers are going to have the rights to sue and recoup money.
All right. Now, I had a call last night from a friend of mine who works for the federal government, who said, "What the hell? Why doesn't this apply to me?" Right?
Yeah. Well,
because he was saying that if he puts in extra work, right, then he has to take comp time for that. But he doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
So why doesn't the president practice what he preaches here?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I don't entirely know sort of what the situation is with federal workers.
Seems to be a contradiction.
Yeah, but
here,
maybe
right?
They should really. And we've seen this recently, like with his executive order to raise the minimum wage for contractors. Definitely, I do agree that the first place the government should look when they're talking about telling businesses to raise standards is their own shop and what's going on with federal workers and federal contractors.
All right. So I want you to pick that up as a cause. For Huffington Post.
I will look into that one, Bill. Absolutely.
I hadn't thought about it, but it does. I told a friend of mine, I said, I think this only applies to the private sector.
Yeah.
But you were going to be in this morning. I was going to ask you.
Well, what's good about this overtime discussion is that Americans work super hard. We work obscenely long hours generally when you compare it to other developed countries. And so just having this discussion is interesting around the office and around the water coolers all over. Makes people think about how much they work and how much they're rewarded for it. And a lot of people, we don't give it much thought and we kind of take it for granted, whatever we're given.
It's I mean, if you really enjoy your job, right, you don't mind putting in some extra time when it's necessary, right?
That's what I always say, Bill. I say that every day. Love what you do. You never work a day in your life. That's what I say every morning when I wake up before the sun comes up.
It's beautiful moonlight this morning.
Yeah, right. On the other hand, you don't want to be taken advantage of, right?
No.
So it's,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So,
and one thing to keep in mind with this whole discussion, you're going to hear all this stuff about how this is a job killer, blah, blah,
I
blah.
know.
But here's the thing.
But that's like the minimum wage being a job killer.
It
It's
is.
never proven to be true.
But this could be a job creator, and this is why. It's going to make it more expensive to overwork people, right? Like, again, going back to you being that manager, if it's going to get more expensive for me to just work you into the ground, then rather than doing that, I'm gonna bring somebody on who I can pay straight time to rather than time and a half. And that was the whole idea of establishing overtime. People don't understand that. That was a big piece of it back in the Great Depression, was to spread work around, to make you pay a premium if you're going to run people into the ground.
Right. You just you come back to it. You ought to get paid for the time you work. Across the board, the president said that yesterday. Something else happened. David Jameison is here with us from Dave.
Byline's Dave. Either's fine.
Dave Jameison from the Huffington Post. When we come back, in the Senate, there seems to be an agreement on, yes, believe it or not, something Dave and I have talked about several times, extending unemployment benefits. And your questions and your comments based on overtime, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
All right, let's make it 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Dave Jameison, Huffington Post, in studio here with us talking labor issues. And the fact that still Congress went home at Christmas time without extending unemployment benefits for the long-term unemployed. They finally, it looks like, in the Senate at least, are going to be able to do something about it, Dave.
Yeah, this is your occasional reminder that the Senate can still do things.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't happen very often.
Biannual or whatever reminder. 10 senators made an announcement that they seem to have arrived at a deal on this for passing UI retroactively. So it would go back 5 months or whatever.
Yeah, go back to whatever and forward to May.
And forward, yes.
Right.
So it would cover 5 months. So this was the 10 senators. This was split bipartisan 5-5. It's a good sign that there will be enough Republican support to get this passed in the Senate. Of course, the total wild card is the House of Representatives. So Boehner has opposed past Senate proposals on the grounds that the pay-fors weren't strong enough, and what the Senate seems to have in theirs. That it's going to be paid for through, some taxes on customs. These things are hard to understand. And pension stuff, whatever.
Yeah, they found some.
They found some stuff in places
somewhere. Yeah,
and they're going to ramp up some requirements, like you got to be in job training of some kind. And they're going to eliminate if you earn $1 million last year, you're not going to be eligible for.
Wow.
So there you go. It's like 0.03 people who receive it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it looks like they've got this close to done in the Senate, but it's hard to see at least how this plan how the House is going to go along with it.
Debbie is calling from Rockford, Illinois. Hi, Debbie. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah.
I was listening to you talk about the overtime hours and people on management, and I just wanted to let you know that hospice RNs, they just work us to death, and we're on salary. We get paid for 40 hours, and it's not unusual for us to work 80, 100 hours in a week.
But you only get paid for 40?
Only get paid for 40, and it's pretty much rampant. In fact, I just lost my job about a week ago. The owner was taking all the money from Medicare. He took over about $230 million. And so Medicare, shut off the funds. And I wanted to go back into hospice, but I'm not willing to work that many hours and only get paid for 40. But it's a wonderful job. It's just really sad what they do to the nurses.
But are you then considered a manager, or is that why you won't?
Case manager. The LPNs and the CNAs, they get paid time and a half, but they use the nurses as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have us working all night, all day, weekends, everything, and get paid for 40 hours.
There you go, Debbie. That's exactly what Dave was talking about, and just one more example, one more profession.
Great example, and it never occurred to me, nurses, but yeah, there it is. A lot of these industries, they know how to work it. They know how to categorize these workers and take advantage of the loopholes.
Well, let's just before Dave, we thank you for coming in, and we want to end this half hour by reminding the employees of the Bill Press show that they will not put in for any overtime, right?
Time for me to go.
Because
we love 80-hour weeks here at the Bill Press show.
80 hours.
Slacking off.
They're slacking off if they're only doing 80 hours. Right. Dave, have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill.
Get ready for that snow on Monday, man.
I'm ready, man.
I'll tell you. We'll come back, tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery. For $360 or $30 a month, you'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those of you able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, in the next hour, Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California joining us to respond to Paul Ryan's comments about why there are so many poor people today. And then Deputy White House Editor for Politico, Rebecca Sinderbrand, will be here in studio with us. President Powell, do you realize it's St. Patrick's Day today? I didn't. I thought March 17 was St. Patrick's Day. But maybe they expect the big snowstorm on Monday. But the White House is gone. Today's St. Patrick's Day, as far as the White House is concerned. The President and the Prime Minister of Ireland are meeting in the Oval Office today. They do this every St. Patrick's Day.
Well, I mean, with an Irish president like Obama.
Exactly. And an Irish vice president like
Joe Biden. Yeah.
Then they will come up to the Capitol and attend the traditional annual St. Patrick's Day lunch today, not Monday, at the United States Capitol. And then this afternoon, the President, the First Lady, and the Vice President and Dr. Joe Biden host a St. Patrick's Day reception at the White House.
Yeah.
So this is the wearing of the green today. Why didn't we know? We'll be meeting with Jay Carney in the press briefing at 1:30.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
10 senators reach an agreement on extending those unemployment benefits for the long-term unemployed. See, if you wait long enough, you can get something done in Washington. Of course, if you wait long enough, it'll be too late. Hey, good morning, everybody. Friday morning, March 14. Good to see you today. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend. And a happy Friday. Thanks for joining us on your local Progressive Talk radio station. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show. And become our friend on Facebook. You know, everybody needs friends. We need more friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook is facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We appreciate you being with us this morning on this Friday with a lot going on here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe. We'll tell you all about it. And again, I look forward to getting you involved in the conversation. There are moments, that are unscripted and unplanned. And when you think the microphone is turned off, but people should know that the microphones are always on, particularly when you're a member of Congress or a member of the Senate or TV or radio talk show host. Lindsey Graham discovered that. It's a senator from South Carolina yesterday. Discovered that maybe the hard way. So Secretary of State John Kerry was testifying in front of a Senate panel. I think it was a Foreign Affairs panel. Lindsey Graham is on that panel. And the senator from South Carolina, thinking the microphones were already turned off, went up to Secretary of State John Kerry after his testimony with an offer that I'm sure he didn't want the world to hear. But here is Senator Graham. Listen closely.
Hey, John, good job. Let me know what I can do to help you with Boehner.
Oh, boy.
Hey, John, good job. Let me know what I can do to help you with Boehner.
Oh, boy.
So here's Lindsey Graham telling John Kerry, you got any problems with the speaker? Let me know. Maybe I can beat some sense into that guy, right? Or make some sense with that guy. Good luck. All I got to say is good luck, Lindsey Graham. Other people have tried to get John Boehner to do the right thing and show some leadership and have failed. I'll tell you, one of those people who is on John Boehner's back all the time is our good friend from California, representing California's 13th Congressional District, the great city of Oakland, California, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Congresswoman.
Hey, good morning. Glad to be with you.
Good to have you with us for sure. And I can't wait to get your comments on what Paul Ryan had to say the other day about why there's still so many poor people in this country and what we're going to do about it. But first of all, Congress, we've heard him before, but maybe not everybody listening has heard what Paul Ryan had to say. Here's what the problem is, according to Paul Ryan, and this is when two mornings ago on Bill Bennett's radio show. Let's listen, Congresswoman, then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We have got this tailspin of culture in our inner cities in particular, of men not working, and just generations of men not even thinking about working or learning the value and the culture of work. And so there's a real culture problem here that has to be dealt with. Everybody's got to get involved. So this is what we talk about when we talk about civil society. If you're driving from the suburb, to the sports arena downtown by these blighted neighborhoods, you can't just say, I'm paying my taxes, government's going to fix that. You need to get involved. You need to get involved yourself, whether through a good mentor program or some religious charity, whatever it is, to make a difference. And that's how we help resuscitate our culture.
There it is, Congresswoman. Generations of men just standing around on the street corners not wanting to work. Yeah, what was your reaction when you heard that?
Code word, African American and Latino men.
You bet.
And one of the things that's really very sad and was very disturbing, and quite frankly, I was pretty outraged that this was said, because we still have a multiracial society that hasn't quite finished the unfinished business of America, and race is still a factor. And so when you don't talk about race as being a factor in poverty and in all of the issues that we're dealing with in America, then you really lose. You don't know what you're doing. You're uninformed. And so these were very, it wasn't so subliminal and so, under the rug comments to me. But I think, and others, I think, got it for what it was.
Well, yeah, and so yesterday, Paul Ryan, after he got a lot of heat about this, right? He says, "Oh no, but basically, I was taken out of context, or it was awkward. I expressed myself awkwardly, or whatever." But this is a pattern with what he's been saying all along, isn't it, Congresswoman? About that, he's been saying the war on poverty failed, right? So there we have to cut out these poverty programs.
Yeah. Worse than what he said is what he does. I mean, his budget, when you look at the Ryan budget, it reflects what he says, and that's the danger. When you talk about, one, not investing in workforce training and job creation, I mean, that's the pathway out of poverty. These men he's talking about, standing on the corner, want to work. They want to go to school, and so if he would support a budget that invests in workforce training, education, and job creation, then we would begin to see our blighted communities turn around. But instead, what does he do? He cuts the safety net. I mean, he cuts what people need just who are living on the brink. Like, he supported the $40 billion cut in food stamps. Mm-hmm. He does not support any of the, quote, war on poverty initiatives. He wants to cut them, and it's been successful. 50 years of the Higher Ed Act, of the Civil Rights Act, of the Food Stamp Act, of the Child Care Tax Credit Act, EITs, all of those social safety net programs that keep people from falling over the brink until they get a job, he wants to dismantle and to cut. That's wrong. That's the problem with his statement, because not only does he say these things, he brings forth a budget that reflects these values, which are very, very dangerous and not inclusive, and not in recognition of the major systemic and institutional racism that we historically have had to address.
And, Congresswoman, there's no doubt, right? He's considered the leader of the budget, in the House. Everybody, the Republicans basically worship the ground that he walks on, right?
I serve on the Budget Committee with Chairman Ryan, and you should hear the debate. I've tried to bring forth people who are living on food stamps, people who are trying to get a job, people who want to work, but those people are not even allowed to come present testimony to the committee. So I have to put their testimony in the record. And so, it really does reflect a backwards trend, and it reflects those values that really don't believe that everyone should have a fair shot, and until they get a fair shot and opportunity, and we're not skirting personal responsibility, Bill. We're not talking about that. We're talking about everyone has a, responsibility to access those services and to turn their lives around. But we're talking about if those opportunities aren't there, what do you do? Yeah. And then therein lies the problem. He attacks the poor and men he sees on the street, he says, who don't have the work ethic, rather than attacking those conditions that give rise to what he is seeing in blighted communities.
Yeah, and to me, the audacity of talking about to apply it to this area, right? Oh my gosh, when you have to drive in from Potomac, right, or drive in from McLean to go to the Nats ball game, and you drive through some of these neighborhoods and you see these generations of men standing on the corner. Those are dog whistle comments.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It really reflects being totally uninformed, totally out of touch, and really not clear on the issues in America in terms of what the institutions and what we have to do in terms of policies to enhance the quality of life for everyone and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to fulfill the American dream. He doesn't get it.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee gets it. She's our guest here on our news line this morning, representing California's 13th Congressional District. Congresswoman, now, I have to ask you about another member of Congress who got in a little hot water recently, rightfully so, I think, not for the first time, and that's Darrell Issa. His treatment of Congressman Elijah Cummings, the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, was just despicable, and I'm sure you responded.
Yeah, it's personally, repulsive, and it's undemocratic. When you shut down any member of Congress who has a right and duty, who represents the same number of constituents he has to speak, you know, you're engaging in anti-American activities, anti-democratic activities. And so we've been working in a variety of ways to get him, you know, to bring forth, which we did yesterday, a resolution to censor him, calling for an apology. Of course, that did not pass because the Tea Party Republicans control the House. And I hope the public has witnessed what he has done and understand that in this body you have those Republicans who really go after the Democrats and do not want even the full participation of great ranking members such as Congressman Elijah Cummings, who has tried over and over again to work in a bipartisan way. I mean, it's very clear by what he said, by the tape, by the video, and by the pictures, what went down.
But, you know, there isn't it sort of taken for granted, I mean, it used to be at least taken for granted, there's a certain congressional courtesy, right, to other members, particularly the ranking members of committees, and the people are polite to each other. They recognize their differences, but at least they respect each other. I mean, Issa does not.
No, and that has never been the case. And so I think the public, when you begin, and there are others also, who really do not want the voices of the American people heard. And so they will go to any length to shut down debate, to shut down different points of views, and to really make sure that they have the say. And that's not what should take place.
Is there any chance that he will be reprimanded or relieved of his post or you know?
Well,
somehow?
We're working on a variety of strategies. You know, the Congressional Black Caucus has, of course, called for him to step down and for Speaker Boehner to take action. And so we'll see. But, you know, they run the show, Bill. Yeah. The elections, unfortunately, and brought us this. And so I hope the public realizes the elections have consequences, and we've got to do our work in November so that Elijah Cummings will chair that committee, not Darrell Issa.
Now, in a rare show of bipartisanship yesterday, the Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi, and the Republican Speaker, John Boehner, both put out a letter inviting Pope Francis to come speak to a joint session of Congress next year. Congresswoman, that would be great.
I hope so. It would be great to have the Pope here. It would be great for everyone to hear his message of social justice. That's what has to happen in this country, and to have someone as revered as the Pope come to the floor in a joint session, I think would be historic. It would be amazing, and I believe people would listen, even if they're not listening to Democrats.
That's a message that I would love to have him bring right there to the halls of Congress, right? And hopefully Paul Ryan, who's a Catholic, might listen to his Pope when he says you ought to be thinking about the poor and caring for the poor and not trying to cut every program that helps the poor.
Yeah, you're right.
Country.
I was raised in Catholic church, went to Catholic school for 8 years, Sisters of Loretta. Well, you know, Bill, Sisters of Loretta.
Yeah,
taught
absolutely.
Me. And there are a lot of Catholics in the Republican Party, and I am, like, shocked at their rhetoric versus the reality and how they interpret the scriptures and the life of Jesus Christ and what that was all about in terms of the Sermon on the Mount, ministering to the poor, and, social justice issues. I mean, I'm amazed. I never learned that in the Catholic, what they promote in the church.
I'll tell you, Congresswoman, the late, great Tim Russert once said to me, he said, "You're a Sermon on the Mount Catholic, aren't you?"
Absolutely.
I said, absolutely, and I was proud of it. Hey, Congresswoman, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you. Good talking with you, Bill.
All right,
Hope
Congresswoman Barbara
Bye-bye.
Lee. Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California doing a great job. She keeps her feet to the fire, I got to tell you. Love it. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
24 minutes after the hour. Quickly, Peter,
just a quick story coming in. Reuters reporting that a military radar data suggests that the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 was, quote, deliberately flown hundreds of miles off course, heightening suspicions of foul play among investigators. That's just the latest. It sort of echoes what we were hearing some earlier today with our guest Simon Denyer. But this new military radar data suggests that it's getting murkier and murkier.
Okay, it's Friday. And on Friday, we love to look back at some of our favorite sound bites of the week and some of yours. Big fight, of course, in New York City about whether or not to get rid of those horse-drawn carriages that take people through Central Park. Mayor de Blasio wants to get rid of them. Liam Neeson says, keep them.
Number 5.
These horses are well cared for. The mayor wants to replace them with electric cars. That's exactly what New York needs, more cars.
More cars. All right. Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, last weekend, just a week ago today, CPAC started here in our nation's capital. And the big star, of course, was... Why? Sarah Palin.
Number 4.
I do not like this Uncle Sam, I do not like his health care scam. I
do not like Sarah Palin. And I
Sam, I
especially
am.
don't like her voice. Gotta go back to Alaska. Yeah, President Obama did a very strange interview appearing on Between Two Ferns on Funny or Die. And he was asked what he thinks about his status as an African-American president.
Number 3.
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talked to a president?
Oh, I like that.
That was the first question in the interview that I go, ooh.
Ooh, yeah, right.
That's a little
But
awkward.
I have to admire President Obama for his comeback on that
job.
too. Yeah.
Great job.
What's the last time? Yeah. What's like to be the last question you ask me? Take his microphone off and walk out. Edward Snowden made a surprise appearance at a conference South by Southwest. He did so, of course, by satellite with a strong message.
Number 2.
The NSA, the sort of global mass surveillance that's occurring in all of these countries, not just the U.S., and it's important to remember that this is a global issue, they're setting fire to the future of the internet. And the people who are in this room now, you guys are all the firefighters.
Yes, indeed. And now, back to Between Two Ferns, another question about the president affecting his marriage to Michelle.
Number 1.
You said if you had a son, you would not let him play football. What makes you think that he would want to play football? What if he was a nerd like you?
Do you think a woman like Michelle would marry a nerd? Why don't you ask her whether she thinks I'm a nerd?
Could I?
No, I'm not going to let her near you.
That's great.
Impertinent, rude, obnoxious questions, but deftly handled by the President of the United States, I think. He gave as well as he took.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Rebecca Sinderbrand from Politico joining us for the next half hour in studio. So stick around here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on Talker TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, 33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go on a Friday morning. It is March 14, and joining us in studio, good friend from the White House, at least our side of the White House, covering the White House, Deputy White House Editor for Politico, Rebecca Sinderbrand. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. So I want to start off. There's a lot going on at the White House today.
There
But first
is.
of all, a couple of preliminary questions,
Sure.
right? Where is Malaysian Airlines 370? What happened to the
I
jet?
ran into it on my way into the office, but I forgot to know where it was. So, yeah.
You know what? This is as good a theory as any about. Isn't this bizarre?
I mean, it's kind of unbelievable that you could have a mystery like this.
Yeah.
In
Right.
this day and age, I think that's really kind of
Phantom
that's
flight.
what grabs the
It
imagination.
takes
It's
off and is
amazing.
never seen again, and we may never know.
But what's interesting, I think, is that every day something even weirder comes out. Like at the beginning of this, because this is a week old now. At the beginning of this, it was
Plane takes off, disappears.
plane takes off, disappears. It's
Right.
like, okay, well,
Okay,
where's the
yeah.
crash? We assume the crash
Right.
or the wreckage or whatever will be
Sure.
found. And then the next day, oh, well, there were 2 stolen passports.
Yeah.
That were used, and there are 2 people that were supposed to be on the plane that aren't on the plane. It's like, wait a minute.
Right.
So how do people get on with stolen passports? And then it's just every day something comes out.
And the latest is that
Something strange.
it clearly turned at some point off course and took up a new course, heading to the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean, and flew 4.5 hours after the transponder had been turned off. At least 4.5 hours. We were still
This is
getting
going to be a
pings.
movie someday.
Yeah.
We're gonna see a movie.
Oh, you're damn right.
Yeah.
But with no ending.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it ends.
All right, so that's my first question. The other question is, I just got to ask you about this. So I saw this in the Wall Street Journal the other day. There's a new app out. It's called Moody's. It's put out by a company called Beyond Verbal. And what this app does, if you speak into your smartphone for just say a few words into your smartphone in the morning, 20 seconds later, the smartphone will tell you how you feel. What your mood is for the day. I mean, no, you talk for like 20 seconds, and then it'll tell you, you're in a good mood today. Or, why are you feeling so crappy today? Now, what I want to know is, why do we need it? That's
what coworkers are for.
Do we need I don't even need a coworker to tell me whether I'm in a good mood or a bad
What's
mood.
the idea here? Is it going to track over time? Say like, wow, it seems like generally first thing in the morning before your coffee, you're not too happy. Is that the idea? I guess I'm.
I have no idea what the idea is. That's why it seems to me there are so. We used to do a segment on a show where we would have somebody on to talk about like new apps.
Sure.
But it's impossible because there are 1,000 new apps a minute, right?
Oh, that's right.
Just about. Peter, you're the high techie guy here.
I'm trying to download this Moody's thing. But I need someone to tell me how I feel.
Yeah.
Right. And right now I'm feeling confused. So I think I could probably.
Just wonder.
I didn't even need the app to tell me, but it would have helped. So.
But there are so many apps today for things that people almost to the point of being helpless, right?
Yeah.
You know.
They should do a movie about
I can't
that.
find my car keys. Well, maybe they ought to
that's
do
a
a movie.
useful app. I got to be honest. If there was
What?
an app that found your car keys, I don't know. I think it might be a hit.
I'd pay good money for that.
There you
Once
go.
a week, I
You have
spend like
the
a
little-
good 10 minutes looking
Yeah.
for my keys.
Yep.
Like that,
Right.
you left your keys here last night.
Yeah. I have an idea. Let's make a movie about it. We could call it His.
His. Yes. Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
On a more serious issue, why are we celebrating St. Patrick's today at the White House? Today, the 14th of March. Did they change the date?
It's St. Patrick's Day observed. So yes, today is full on Irish at the White House, and on the Hill. There's going to be that big the big sit
traditional
down
lunch,
traditional
right.
lunch with the speaker and the president, and don't make me pronounce.
The TIAC.
Okay, yes, that.
The TIAC.
Yes, him.
TIAC. I'm
him.
sorry. I got TIAC. All right. TIAC.
Right. My Irish bona fides are not quite
Nor mine.
what they.
So they do this every year. He comes down to the White House. They have their big meeting. They exchange shamrocks.
The shamrock ceremony. That's
They
right.
come up to the Hill. They have the big lunch. Then they have the reception tonight at the White House, which I
Right.
expect on Monday, March 17. I don't get why.
Right.
Why today? Are they afraid of the snowstorm on Monday or
Well,
what?
I mean, and this is just a guess here because I haven't actually checked with the Irish on this, but I feel as though the leader of Ireland may want to celebrate the day in Ireland. So it could be just kind of, this is as close as you can get on a weekday. We're getting
I can
legit.
give you one good reason, is because it's Friday, and if you're going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, you may be thirsty.
Whoa!
And it's supposed to snow on Monday.
Yeah,
it's supposed to snow Monday.
So, like, if I'm going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I'd much rather do that on a Friday than a Monday.
It should be Friday every year.
I agree.
Well, that raises.
I agree.
That raises an interesting question, which is, do all the rest of us get to celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
I think we
tonight. I mean, right?
Would you
Today.
rather me celebrate today or come into work hungover on Tuesday? As a boss.
We celebrate. Really, you should celebrate it every day a little bit in our hearts. But.
And our livers.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if the Irish bars down here, what are the two of them side by side?
Oh, I don't. You know me. I'm
This is a quiz.
I'm
I
a
can't.
teetotaler.
I
You know
can't.
me. I don't drink.
I know right where they are, right around the corner from the Phoenix Hotel.
This is,
There's the Irish Times, right? That's
Irish
one of them,
Times
right?
is
And then there's,
one.
Hawk and Dove?
Drinking McLosers. I don't know.
No, Hawk and Dove is on Pennsylvania.
There was Finn McCool's.
Yes, it'll be just interesting to see if they are open. Like during their normal St. Patrick's Day celebration blowout tonight, as opposed to they'll probably do it tonight, tomorrow night, Sunday,
Damn
and
right they will.
Monday. Right,
Yes,
all right.
they will.
Got that. Now, Rebecca, it looks like there's nobody left in town. Not even Dianne Feinstein will defend the NSA and the CIA anymore. The only person left to defend them is Barack Obama.
That's right.
Why?
I mean, this was kind of an amazing week, wasn't it? I mean,
for Senator Feinstein to come out and say they're lying, they're cheating, you can't trust them.
And then you saw the president making that very careful statement where he was kind of trying to, weigh in without weighing in. And even in just kind of the minor thing he said where he was saying, kind of seeming to endorse the Justice Department investigation, that even was a little bit controversial because, Senator Feinstein thinks that's a whitewash.
Yeah,
so,
right.
so he can't even, anything he says on this. And, I think from the White House perspective, they're just waiting for this kind of to fade away. They're maybe not necessarily convinced that this is going to have legs, that this is a story that's necessarily going to grab the public imagination and be around for a while, and we'll see,
But so the CIA was conducting the enhanced interrogation investigations, right? They were torturing people under the rules of the Bush administration and the legal authority given them by the Bush administration. Barack Obama said, "I'm going to stop that." He stopped it. So the Senate committee is investigating the CIA's use of torture. The CIA allegedly hacks the Senate staff, the Senate committee staff, the computers that they were using because they didn't want them. Apparently, it was pretty bad stuff that was in this report. They didn't want them to have all of that stuff, and they were taking it out of there. So why would the president defend the CIA for trying to cover up its own dirty deeds?
Well, you had the president
and John
coming out
Brennan wasn't doing it at the time, so I don't see why he can't just say.
It's interesting to see this kind of reflexive defense of kind of the national security establishment that we've been seeing from this president. And I guess the sense is he established his civil liberties bona fides during the campaign. He let people know where he stands, so people should kind of. I guess the feeling is trust him when he says that there's a legitimate reason for whatever it is that he says there's a legitimate reason for. But, even he's out there saying, let's see this report. Everyone's saying, let's see this report. So I guess it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I just don't understand why he does. I'll tell you on another issue now, a related issue. People have been calling on the president to do something about the mass deportations being conducted by the Homeland Security Agency, where they're deporting 1,000 people a day, people who would qualify for the path to citizenship under the president's immigration reform plan. there won't be any of them left if he continues to deport them as fast as he is. And immigration reform groups have been calling on the president, while we're waiting for immigration reform legislation, let's stop this mass deportations. I wrote a column about it. Other people have been talking about it. Finally, last night, the president met with, having, by the way, said, and I've asked Jay Carney about this at the briefings, you've been there, I have, and Carney always says, we have to enforce the law. We have to enforce the law. We have no choice. Well, last night, finally, the president said, you know what? Maybe this is going too far. Maybe we ought to do something about it. Again, why did it take him so long to see what everybody else saw a long time ago?
Well, this was it's very fascinating to see this progression because what happened a couple of months ago, an incident that was almost a blip when it came to, kind of mainstream coverage, but there was an incident at a rally where he was confronted by a young man over deportations. And he spoke out. This is something that maybe, got 5 minutes of coverage on most networks. But when it came to the Spanish language media, when it came to other media, kind of under the radar, not necessarily the mainstream press, this had coverage for weeks.
Oh,
and the drumbeat grew louder
absolutely.
and louder and louder, and he came under increasing pressure. And then you finally had this sense that it was time, if there was not necessarily going to be this full immigration reform package, which it seemed increasingly as though there wasn't going to be in this Congress, that perhaps the time had come to turn the pressure on the president. And so you had the head of the National Council, Barraza, coming out and calling the president the deporter-in-chief. And you had this rising drumbeat and the sense that, people were going to start to turn their sights on the White House. And so we had the announcement yesterday that the president was going to be meeting with immigration activists today. And of course, breaking overnight ahead of that meeting, the news that he was now going to be, he'd said in the past, I don't have these tools at my disposal. All of a sudden, it seems as though perhaps there are some tools. So
Right. Yeah. And I think he did the right thing, or at least he's set the things in motion to do the right thing. He's asked the Department of Homeland Security to look at their practice and come up with some recommendations maybe for reform or scaling it back a little bit. So there was no immediate change.
There's no quick
But it
fix.
still took him a long time to get to that point, which surprises me. And maybe he'll come around on the CIA at some point, too. Rebecca Sinderbrand here with us from Politico, the deputy White House editor. The president made a big move yesterday on overtime pay, too. Let's talk about that. A lot going on here in Washington this week. All of a sudden, 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Join the conversation anytime.
This is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, in case you didn't know it, it's St. Patrick's Day. At least if you're at the White House, it's St. Patrick's Day.
And none of us are wearing green.
Well, we didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day. I already laid out my outfit for Monday, thinking if I'd known, I would have worn it today. But it's St. Patrick's Day at the White House today.
I can't wait for Monday now.
Rebecca, I don't think I have anything green in my wardrobe.
I don't think I do either.
I'm sure I do. I'm not going to wear it on St. Patrick's Day because I'm a grown man. But I mean.
Rebecca Sinderbrand is here with us from Politico, Deputy White House Editor. The president yesterday, in addition to making a statement and putting some direction about deportation, made a major step on overtime pay. In a ceremony in the East Room of the White House yesterday, he talked about what he was up to.
A few weeks ago, I signed an executive order requiring federal contractors to pay their employees a fair wage of at least $10.10 an hour. Today, I'm going to use my pen to give more Americans the chance to earn the overtime pay that they deserve.
So, Rebecca, this has now become a pattern of executive actions where the president is taking where Congress has failed to act, right?
That's absolutely
So we'll
right.
see more of these, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
and this comes obviously in the midst of his push on overtime eligibility. Of course, it's a push that's expected to go anywhere necessarily right now. But at the same time, it's a major linchpin of the Democrats' message in 2014. And so we'll expect to see more actions along these lines.
Right. What it does is direct the Labor Department to revise the rules on overtime pay, which today mean that, as I understand it, and Dave Jameison was here from Huffington Post in the last hour, as long as they give you the glorified title of manager or, director or something like that, then they don't have to pay you for all the extra time you put in as part of those responsibilities.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Right. And, this is, so expect to see 1,000 managers bloom across America. So all of a sudden inflated titles will bloom like roses
And what the
everywhere.
president wants to do is raise the level of pay beyond which you might be able to get away with this. But right now, he pointed out yesterday, there are people who are making as little as $23,000 a year and putting in maybe instead of 40 hours, 60 hours or 70 hours a week because of they're given the title of manager,
Right.
so they don't get paid. They don't get paid overtime. They don't get paid even for hourly with the extra hours that they put in.
Right. I mean, and this isn't unprecedented. This isn't something that Obama's come up with himself. This is something that's been done under previous presidents. So it's important to note this is not new territory that Obama's blazing. He's using something that's not only been available to him, but his predecessors are taking advantage of
It's a
too.
Fair Labor Standards Act, I think, since the Great Depression. Now the question is, should this apply to our profession, to journalism?
It seems only fair.
Don't you think?
Speaking as the deputy editor, it seems only fair.
There you go. Now you've got the big fancy title here, Deputy White House Editor.
It's journalism is the best job in the world as long as you don't stop to kind of figure it out on an actual hourly wage basis. It's fantastic, but don't do that math. That'll kill you every time.
You know what? Government jobs are like that too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I remember particularly when I was working for Jerry Brown and we were working basically 24/7. Everybody said, whatever you do, don't stop to figure out what you're making per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this job is like that too.
Look, you know what I say, Bill. Love what you do. You never work a day in your life.
Never
Every
work.
day I wake up and I look at that alarm clock going off well before the sun rises, and I say, boy, I love my job.
Did President Obama...
He's going to start giving you raises in satisfaction.
I mean, I figure
I just
no
don't believe
actual
anything.
money.
I don't believe
no
it.
actual.
I don't believe anything he says, so I just ignore it. Did President Obama do the right thing by going on Between Two Ferns?
I mean, look, you go where the viewers are. I mean, from the White House's perspective, this is a fantastic success. They saw that enormous boost in referrals directly from Two Ferns. And so, and you had some Republican voices, some of the traditional Republican voices came out and criticized, and then others were saying, look, maybe instead of criticizing, this is something we got to think about doing ourselves. Maybe you'll see a presidential candidate, Ted Cruz, on Two Ferns sometime in the future. Who knows?
All I gotta say,
I'd pay. That would be worth the price of it.
That
I would
would be amazing.
absolutely.
No.
That would be amazing.
And I'll tell you, Ted Cruz, I'm positive, could not handle the tough questions as well as Barack Obama did.
Well,
He fired back pretty well, I thought.
That was an entertaining 6.5 minutes.
It was indeed. And this has been an entertaining half hour. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
To you, observed.
Right.
To you.
We'll see you again soon. I'll be back to today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, there was a lot of news out of Washington this week. The biggest news must have been Senator Dianne Feinstein's blast at the CIA. I mean, for years, she's been the biggest defender of the intelligence agencies, the NSA and the CIA and all the rest, even defending their massive phone collection program. But she lost faith in those agencies when she discovered that the CIA had been hacking into the computers used by her staff to conduct an investigation of the CIA's use of torture. She's accused the CIA of violating the Constitution and federal law and demanded that Attorney General Eric Holder consider filing criminal charges against the CIA. Well, it took her a long time to get there, but Senator is certainly right. Our intelligence agencies are out of control. Maybe this is what it will take to hold some hearings in Congress, collect the evidence, and set new limits on the CIA while we have any right of privacy left. With that, folks, have a great weekend. We'll look for you back here
on the
on
Bill
Monday.
Press Show.